Can you hear my gum chomping?
Yeah, can you stop it? Can you?
You have a silent.
It's the Jack
And Kathy
Show.
Shit Show.
And there we go.
Yeah, how was that?
Okay,
Did you like
I
that
think if yeah.
Okay.
One, two, three. Oh man, that was beast. So normally we start our podcast by going, "Hey."
Yeah.
So we're gonna do it just because other people don't like it.
Damn right. Okay, let me
turn off your sound.
Turn off
Now you
my
can turn off
sound.
the ringer.
Exactly.
So it's funny.
Hi.
Hey. This, you know what? This
What?
podcast is inspired by my mother and daughter who I'm
Yep.
calling them out.
Carol and Alex, you knew
Yeah,
it was
they
coming.
knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming.
Faux and show. So anyway, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about nothing because we were complained at.
That's what we do.
So I'm wondering if the rest of the 6 fans that follow us get mad at the fact that we're talking about nothing.
Well, I would argue that it's our podcast and we can talk about nothing if we want. I would say that.
So there is a funny Instagram thing that I saw where it says it's the podcast police and it's going after every white guy that wants to do a podcast because that's all they do now. Let's do a
Really?
podcast. It was hilarious. I got to try to send it to you.
That's
I-
very funny.
I feel this way about our podcast, and it's so funny because it's not left my head since my mother and daughter said the criticism they said of us. The goal of the podcast is not to sit down and give relationship advice because I don't have any.
we are completely
Well, I don't.
unqualified
I
to give
can-
relationship advice.
But ask me about Hamas. I'm going to say the same thing. I don't know. I've never worked in the Middle East. I can tell you what I've read since I've been a kid, but I can know what goes on there, and I try to stay informed. And so this podcast is for someone to, if you like us and you think we're fun to listen to and you glean something from it, great. If you think we're goofball knuckleheads, then don't listen. Is that being too obstinate?
that is fair.
It's truly supposed to be about our lives and the things that we're doing throughout our lives. And if you go back and listen to any of them with the goal of gaining, I'm never going to do a podcast with you that says the 5 reasons why couples fight or the 27 reasons why couples don't have sex often enough. I don't work in those industries. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist.
I will give completely unqualified opinions of all those topics.
I can say, I think I can confidently.
Did what I say just register?
Yeah,
in your
I
brain?
did. It was great.
It's nice to know you're actually listening.
I was listening. That's why you paused for so long. I feel that I am not, nor are you, an expert in any of this stuff. You want to talk about AI and databases and some social media marketing stuff? Yeah, I know that really well. That's not what this is about.
Right.
This is for people to listen and go, God, that relationship is really cool and how they're working through shit. And these are the tools they use, which is why we reference the Gottmans and everything else. And so what's interesting, do you want to dive right into it? Or do you want to?
Sure,
Because normally
do
we
it.
banter. We've been bantering a lot lately.
Babe, this is a good topic. Dive in because I like this.
So,
This has been on your brain.
well, it's been on my brain longer than from when the critique came up about us.
Yeah, of course.
And
And we've touched on it, the
Yeah,
topic
we have.
we're embarking on. We've touched on it in other ways. So this is...
So I am personally fascinated with relationships. That's the depth of my understanding of relationships, is that I'm fascinated by them. So I listen to Bella Gandhi and the Gottmans and Dr. Alexander Solomon and Mark Groves. And I'm drawing blanks on all the other people that we follow on our Instagram page. Why are you smiling?
What?
I just missed something. Are you smiling? What am I doing that makes you smile?
I don't know.
Oh.
Just enjoying it.
I probably more than you am fascinated by these
Definitely
topics.
more than me. But I have plenty to say on them.
You do. And so I do in-depth. I love the
I just watch home remodeling stuff.
I love that too, though.
Yeah.
God, I really like watching the hotel build of Chip and Joanna.
I know. 1928 is their new hotel in Waco.
It's so cool. We got to go there now.
Magnolia
It's gonna be
Network rocks.
There's going to be another set of chumps that go follow them. But they're no better at home remodeling necessarily than a whole bunch of other people. You like them as people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
I would argue that is the success of almost so many things, is that you end up liking them as people. There's something about the character the personality that you like. And I would say that's true for successful podcasts. You relate to their character or their sense of humor or who they are as a person,
to that end.
Same with the TV shows that we'd watch.
To that end, you've sent me some things of leading like medical guys or guys who study the body and foods to eat and all that stuff. And there's one guy I just couldn't connect with. I listened to it and he's brilliant, and it's just, oh, dude, shut up about your personal stories.
Yes.
And yet I listened to Dan Buettner and I'm fascinated by it.
It's so funny. You're like, shut up with your personal stories.
Right here I am telling mine.
Yeah, exactly.
But to be fair, he's not for me.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
Which is the point of this whole podcast. I am fascinated by who's right for whom. Whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's interpersonal relationships like this, friendships. I am fascinated by what draws people together.
Yes.
And for years, my ex-wife used to say things, well, opposites attract. And that's what she used to say about us. Opposites attract. And I used to see other couples where it's like, man, they got a lot in common.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
they seem to like doing a lot of things together.
I don't seem very
like.
They don't seem right. They don't seem very
They
opposite.
seem like best friends. What is that like to have a partner that also
Correct.
feels like a best friend?
Right.
Does everybody have to have that? Is that a prerequisite to a successful relationship? I don't know what that's like. Thank God for my girlfriends. That was my mindset. Thank God for my girlfriends.
Right. And we were out with Paul and Nilsa for dinner a couple nights, or last week, whatever it was, our friends who were Alex and Sam's wedding coordinators. And we become friends with these guys. So we're out to dinner with them. And we were just kind of talking about couples. And they had gone on a vacation with like 40 other people, like 20 couples.
Oh, yeah,
right?
like 20 other couples. I can't imagine.
And they said that they also then went on a vacation just themselves post that, right? And one of their
with their
family,
yeah.
And one of their friends had commented that, oh, I couldn't do that many vacations with my husband.
Oh, right.
And Paul and Nilsa said, oh my God, we love being with one another all the time.
they were struck by how they felt that was kind of unfortunate for that couple, that they would be certainly trying to be away from each other.
Certainly opposite the way they feel.
Yes, it's opposite the way they feel, opposite of how we feel now,
Which is what we brought up. Like, we enjoy being with each other all the time. Last night we had some plans to do some stuff in Bayview, and before that we had a chance to go grab a bite to eat. And we are sitting at the bar, just having a great conversation. Next thing you know, we start playing Hangman.
Yeah.
And I looked at you and I went, how cool is it that we can be with each other basically 24 hours a day, have a business together, have a podcast together, and yet we just love being together. We like being with one another.
Knock on wood, not run out of things to talk about. Hence the podcast. Hence from the very beginning when you and I could talk nonstop all the time, and I was like, gosh, we sound like we have a podcast. That's truly how it was born.
So it got me into this thinking. Like, I used to always be mesmerized by my daughter and her now husband's relationship, right? I used to talk about it all the time, and then I would look at other couples and go, God, they have that, and then I thought I had it. Maybe you thought you had it in your previous relationship post marriage. And I thought I had it, and then I went, man, I'm really relenting on so many things that I need. And so during the week, and then heightened by the fact that there was comments about our podcast, I went out and did research. Right? I went online and read about compatibility, because I want to start there for a second. I
Yeah.
do not believe that opposites attract.
Right.
Now, I don't believe you have to be a clone. Like there's a hilarious Seinfeld episode where Jerry is dating Jeanine Garofalo,
Yeah.
and they're identical. And Elaine finally goes, "You're dating yourself," right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not suggesting we have to be so simpatico that we don't have any individualism. Like, for example, you don't like watching football games with me. You don't like watching sports.
Sometimes.
Well, you
Sometimes
don't like.
I do.
You don't like it as much as I do.
No, right. Not
However,
as much as you do.
where would I rank watching sports on TV as a core thing for me? Like for some
Pretty
people
high.
it is.
Pretty high.
I would say no.
No?
Watching sports is a big thing for me.
Well, you like to watch
Yeah, and
Sunday
killer
night
time.
and Monday night football.
Bears games.
Bears games. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
but I'm not just going to go watch a game. I'll watch an Oregon football game because Al went to school there.
Right.
Right? So I take an interest in where my kids went to school, but it's not, I wouldn't rank it in the top 10 of things that I need to do with my life. Guitar, for sure.
For sure.
But
Guitar.
you love period piece
Getting
British
outs-
movies.
I do.
I'd rather jump in front of a charging
As you said
rhinoceros.
earlier, I'd rather eat my own vomit.
I said that before we got on the
believe
podcast.
Is a
Quote.
quote.
So
Direct quote.
we don't have everything in common. And I also don't want to go. So there's this, did some notes. Most people talk about the 5. So this is all about compatibility.
Yes.
Okay? This whole discussion's about compatibility. And I sometimes.
Well, not just that, but the key things that make relationships work.
No,
No.
I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the key things that make us work. Because when I did all my research, I'm like, nah, Kathy and I work despite what that psychiatrist or psychologist says. What? Why are you laughing?
Which test were we working in spite of? Are you talking about
Well,
something
like when
specific?
the Gottmans, yeah, that thing I found about the Gottmans, I'll get to it, where
Okay.
it said that that you want to have some differences between you, and that's what creates this and that and the other. I'm like, fuck that. I think the more that you have in common with someone, and so then again, I look at my daughter and other couples and go, were they just lucky, or as they progressed, did they have success and they stuck it out, or they would have walked? And that's where we're going to get to in a second, because I asked you questions before this podcast.
You did.
There's typically 5 categories that people talk about in compatibility: intellectual, financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual.
Okay.
Now, you can lump physical under sex or working out, emotional under whatever. You can have subcategories within there.
Right.
But every part of my research that I did found these 5 to be the primary things that a lot of people, experts, state. And by the way, I'm not dissing their expertise.
Yes.
Okay? I hope that's heard. These people have done thousands and thousands of hours of studies. And so, great. Now we've got those macro categories, intellectual. Well, how do we define that for each other? Like your niece, Rachel, talked about how she likes this guy so much because it's important to me to have someone that's really smart in my life.
Intellectual, but also having the emotional intelligence and a sense of humor. Like not so intellectual that they don't understand a joke, you know?
Well, that's her need, right? Like, for example, what if I started dating your niece, Rachel? Awkward, I know. Let's
yeah,
just
can
go-
we use a different example, please?
Well, Rachel's personality, right?
yes.
What if we sit down to talk, and I think one of the most intellectual shows is Arrested Development, and she listens and goes, "That is just stupid. I don't. It's not funny." Was her intellect better? Is my intellect better? Right? It's just incompatibility, right?
Yes, I'm with you.
Within these 5 macro categories, I think there's so much sub nuance that I feel this is so giving my thoughts now. I'm not basing this on years of expertise or training. You were just yawning.
Your doctorate?
Doctor.
Doctor.
Name that movie. Spies Like Us.
Ooh, okay.
So I feel we all have these buckets that have ranking to them, not smell bad, but have a rating system. You just got that have a weight to them, right? And so for example, you need to be with someone who feels that weight with you. Now that could be opposite or the same, but that's the compatibility piece.
Yeah.
And I believe at the core of all relationships, for me at least,
Yes.
the core of relationships that I can be myself. So what does that mean? It means be seen. So I'm goofy. I ask you to pull my finger on occasion. I run into walls and pretend like doors and pretend like I ran into them. I'm 58 years old. I'm still being silly. I need someone to see that.
Yes. And you found a partner who laughs every damn time.
To where my son Sam says it's annoying.
Yes.
Probably everyone else does too.
Probably.
But that's the core thing for me, is to be seen, to be myself. So what I'd like us to talk about today, we've got these 5 categories, but I want us to delve into, it's 15 minutes in, we don't have to spend too much time, maybe another half an hour, just talking about, pick a topic and let's see where we are compatibility wise.
Okay.
And along this journey, I want everyone to know that I know the answers already.
Well, yes, of course.
Because I do. We like the same.
We're sitting here today.
And by the way, subcategories, micro categories, not just intellectual or physical. So I'll dive into it first. Most uncomfortable to talk about: sex.
Yes.
So compatibility, we could say, yes, we're compatible. Define what compatibility means to you sexually without being uncomfortable.
I would say that probably one of the first ones I would put on that list would be desire for it. So sex drive would be a biggie for me. Like how often, how much. I think that's a biggie.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, keep going.
But do you agree that sexually we're crazy compatible?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
And I think there's a reason why I'm certainly comfortable.
Because I'm hot?
You are
So
hot.
Look out.
And also, I trust you immensely with my heart and my I feel safe with you, and I trust you immensely, and that is a prerequisite for Kathy Riley.
Okay, that's that topic, because we can go into detail that is unnecessary.
I'm too shy for that.
Well, you would, however,
that might be where we are different on the topic.
That's okay.
I'm like a little more conservative.
So sexually, though, you would agree there is 100% compatibility.
Yes.
We speak the same language, all those other types of topics. Ready? I'm going to go nutso on you now. Fast food.
Fast food. I believe that both of us like to indulge on fast food sometimes, but for the most part, we make a conscientious effort to make healthy choices because we want to be healthy. And that really is a biggie. If you were just a junk food nut and only wanted burgers and French fries at every McDonald's stop, I would say I'm out. I can't. That would be a deal breaker if the diet and was that far off from each other. So I think that's kind of a biggie.
100% agree. Every once in a while, we want our Portillo's hot dog. Right?
Well, you want that.
Well, but you know what I mean.
But I'll go there and I'll find something.
Well, we had gyros the other night.
Yeah.
Right? We were sitting there. We were
did.
doing so much work in the house. We had no groceries. And I went on a DoorDash because we got a discounted thing. And I went, oh my God, gyros.
And I was like, all right. I
You said
haven't had
we
that
haven't
in years
Right.
and years and years and
So,
years.
okay. So is this crazy? Do you write that down on a survey? We both like gyros. We both like junk food at this regularity.
Yeah.
But
We both crave a Dr. Pepper once a month.
Right. You craved one the other night when we were out. You're
I
like,
did.
oh, do they have Dr. Pepper?
It was not met. They did not have it. but-
Okay. And so again, where I'm getting at with all this stuff is along the way, what I did in other relationships is I stayed
Yes.
when I knew that there was a big incompatibility piece and should have walked. Should have walked.
Why do you think you stayed?
Because I wanted to have a relationship. I wanted someone to like me. I figured there were other things that were really good. So you tell me, why did you stay? Same reason?
Yeah, very similar. There were, and this is one of the things I know we've talked about in previous podcasts, there was just enough in common. A couple of things come to my mind. Just enough in common to make me stay. So when the things that were not compatible reared their head, I justified them saying, but there are these other things.
100%.
And
see, we're compatible in that.
Yes.
We did the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I forgot my other thought. I had another thought. I had two things in mind, but I can only think
On
of the
that
one
question?
now. Yeah.
Oh.
I had two,
Well, I
and
asked
then
you
I
why
lost
did you
it.
stay? Does that jog your memory? Does it come down from the thought?
Why did I stay? Yeah, so the compatibility, I was convincing myself. And then also, I guess I didn't. There was probably a little bit of not wanting to give up and start over again. Like, oh man, I thought this one would last for a while. Gosh, it feels exhausting to imagine going out into the world again and trying to find somebody new.
Same. I read a journal when I was looking up stuff for today's podcast that I had written where it was, I cannot believe I have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe it was that need to just have that, which, okay, let me just take a sidebar. Can I sidebar for a second? Because this whole discussion is about compatibility, and I really want to read this because I think it's important.
Yeah.
So this study that I found was all over the internet in so many different places, reliable places, newsworthy and valid sources. And a study from the University of Colorado at Boulder took more than 130 traits and involved millions of couples of over more than a century. It found little evidence that opposites attract. Instead, for 82 to 89% of traits, and again, I don't have those traits in front of me right here to read to you, partners tended to be similar. So it was a huge finding here. One of the authors of the findings said, the findings demonstrate that birds of a feather are indeed more likely to flock together. So it was published in so many different journals. I'm trying to look back at, and again, this was done over 100 years.
The oldest study, I'm reading over your shoulder, the oldest study was conducted in 1903.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? The business of relationships over time.
And to be
How
sure,
we're
this
all,
was,
as human beings, searching to connect with other human beings.
yeah,
It's
and to be sure, this was for heterosexual relationships, so there are some asterisks or caveats, and I don't know if that's different in...
I would say it's probably not. I mean,
I would think it's not. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So anyway, without diving into the traits of the study, it was a whole bunch of different ways to look at compatibility. And so it fascinates me. And I even asked you before we got on this podcast, do you think we were lucky? So I look at my daughter, my daughter, Alex, and her husband, Sam. I look at other couples that I know. And I'm not my mom and dad, Laura and Bill. I know each one of them has had their moments, and I know they will continue to, right? There is, for example, I may not agree with Laura and Bill on how they do things, right?
Yeah.
However, they agree with each other.
Yes.
And even when they disagree, it looks like they're agreeing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I feel that way with you. And I went back and listened to last week's podcast.
Yeah.
And you're going, can we? And I'm going, nope.
And I even said, I love that when you say that to me.
But the weird thing is you didn't feel overwhelmingly offended by it.
No, I knew you were joking.
And I didn't feel that I couldn't say those words. Seen and be seen. You have always said that this relationship is easy.
Yes.
And I think
from the
we got
very first moment.
crazy lucky because we were compatible. So now I'm going to talk about the next topic, music.
Yes. I believe that it is definitely one of the things we connected on in our first date, not knowing necessarily that you were such a huge musician and music was such a huge part of your life. And I don't know it or play it or engage in it in the same way you do, but I still have a passion for music. And I think that common ground is one of our, definitely a huge thing for us in our relationship, that we connect so much in that way. when I met you, I had decided to not wait for anybody. I was going to start traveling and taking trips, and they would have been focused around music in different cities. And I had on the books 2 tickets to see Lucas Nelson at Red Rocks in Colorado with no idea who was going to come with me. And I decided even if somebody couldn't go with me, I was going to go by myself. And as it turned out, I met you and you came with me. And it has been, from the very first day, one of the things we have always aligned on. And we have now traveled for music, specifically taken trips around seeing certain artists, of which we are about to do again next week in Seattle. And then in January, next week, we're going to see Couch in Seattle. I mean, we're visiting Key as well, of course.
No,
that's
but it's
huge.
a music topic right now.
But it's a music topic. And then January, we're going to New Zealand to see Foo Fighters. Oh, my God.
Well, okay, so let's get back
But
to...
anyway,
let's get
yes.
back to...
So, yes, I think it's a huge
Could I
thing.
throw in a question or discussion
Absolutely.
about Lucas Nelson? I had never heard of Lucas Nelson before.
Right.
Right? And so for me to like his music, not that I'm a snob, I don't want it to come off that way. The compatibility thing comes in, and I don't know if you were like this in other relationships, because I liked a bunch of bands that other partners didn't like, and they liked music that I didn't like. But I went, well, okay, well I'll listen to Ed Sheeran, for example. I don't mind Ed Sheeran, but I don't go, oh my God, I love Ed Sheeran. And do you love Ed Sheeran? There we go. See, you're
I'm
like, "Eh, it's okay,
sort
it's not
of
bad."
I'd rather go see a really cool bluegrass band.
See,
with
bluegrass.
banjos and fiddles or I mean, we
I
did
talked
both
to you about
like
Chris Steele.
yes,
Right?
yes,
So
mandolin player.
you were not as
incredibly
familiar
talented.
with the Foo Fighters.
No,
as
I mean I
am.
knew their big stuff, but you know every album and every song and all the words to them.
And so last night, or the last couple nights in preparation for our trip, we put on Foo Fighters 606 on YouTube.
so
And
good.
you had heard of a few of the songs, not all of them.
Definitely.
And all of a sudden it goes to one song and you're like, oh shit, this is awesome. Compatibility.
Yes,
You
compatibility.
see what I'm
And-
getting at?
And for you, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this is what you said
You're
upstairs.
wrong.
If I would not have been like you in previous relationships would not have put musical similarities on your bucket list of must-haves. And after your last relationship ended, is it fair to say that you put that on your bucket list of I've got to be compatible with my partner in terms of music, or open to music, or liking music, or even
Yeah,
just
'cause it's a
open
core
to
of who-
artists that
it's a-
I like, but
it's a
maybe they
core
don't
of-
like.
It's
Yeah.
a core of who I am.
Yeah,
And
so it would have been on your
I'm
bucket
sure
list
in your
of
last
must-haves.
relationship you went to concerts. You had to, right?
Yes.
Because you like them. So did I.
Yes.
And so I'd go to concerts, and it'd be my concert that I wanted to go to. And they were nice enough to come along. And then I'd go to their concert. But there was never I took you to see, let me back up. I took you to see Blackberry Smoke for the first time. I'd played some of their songs. You liked it. We went to go see them at Summerfest the summer right after COVID. So there was no one there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you went, holy shit.
Yeah, they
We've now
were.
seen them 10 times together. Red Rocks. We saw them last
Not quite
week.
10 times.
5?
6?
I've
Yeah.
seen them 10 times probably. But we've seen them several times.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then the Foo Fighters thing I bring up, because next thing you know, I'm introducing you to DOA and some of their other more album cuts, if you will. And you're going, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You share stuff with me, and it becomes... So, again, I'm going to say it. It's a core... I don't see music on this list of intellectual, financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual. But it's a core thing that's in my soul. So maybe that's spiritual. Maybe that's emotional.
I think music
Right?
is a spiritual connection for you. I
But
put it in,
but just to
that's
say
your point,
emotional and
it's-
spiritual to me is overly vague.
it's a subcategory that could maybe be put under that. But
Movies.
yeah.
Let's go movies.
Let's go movies.
Yeah.
Well, we've already established you like a fine rom-com. You are, and you know what? I love that you love them, even though I don't, because you cry at rom-coms. You cry at rom-coms you have seen 40 times and can quote every line, and you still cry. And it is the sweetest thing for being such a strong, masculine man, the fact you have that delicate underbelly with rom-coms, I find just awesome.
Okay, well, I'm going to get off of rom-coms for me for a second.
Okay.
I got off on them. When I say the category movies, you like British films, I like rom-coms. Those are our differences, right?
Mm-hmm.
The core thing is, if we ever gone to a movie and said, where you went, I really liked it, and I went, nope, and you went, or I said I really liked it, and you said no. We've never had that.
No,
We've
we
gone to
haven't.
see a movie and went, that sucked.
Yeah.
And then we've gone to see another movie and went, oh, that was awesome.
Yes.
We saw Barbie.
Yep.
Loved it. We had a whole podcast
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. I was going
We
to say.
went to see Maverick a second time,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
So good.
Thought it was great. We saw Oppenheimer, right?
Yep.
That's my point. We have very similar interests in movies where if we go to see something, it's rare that you or I walk away with such a divergent opinion from the other person.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
We both
Agreed.
have been in movies or watched TV, in fact, and went, ugh. We just watched Naiad,
Yeah.
the documentary,
Yeah.
right, about the woman who swam from Cuba.
Yep.
And what did we both do?
Brilliant.
That was awesome. See?
Yeah.
How do you measure that? Like, if you're a scientist, I want this to get out to somebody to measure these compatibility things, because I wonder if it's at those what is the core of us that sees the world very similarly?
Well, and okay, so it's interesting. We think those are very poignant topics, but there are people that have no interest in movies or in music, and their subcategory would be model train building.
But that's my point.
You know?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
My point is exactly that the compatibility, when they say 90% or 82 to 89% in the study of the traits were in alignment.
Yeah.
Do they look at movies, books? You and I like to read, but we both don't love to read. Right?
Right.
You'll pick up a book and you'll plow through it, but you and I slog through books.
Yes.
My daughter loves reading books. Now, that doesn't mean Sam has to love reading books too. It's not what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But we don't. We share a compatibility there, an appreciation for books.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk about differences then. Where do you see we're very different? And then, as I say that, where does that difference rank on importance to you?
Well, you get up really early at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get up at 7.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been a difference.
Mm-hmm. Where does that rank in importance to you?
It doesn't. It doesn't for me. Although you do love it when I get up early and I come into your world and say we're going for a walk at 6:30 in the morning because I woke up at 6 and got out of bed. Yep. So maybe the question, maybe I can pose it to you. How important is it to you?
It's not if it was a deal breaker, I walk. You don't have
Now,
to.
what if it was that I like sleeping every day until 11?
I couldn't be with you.
I know. I agree.
You getting up at 7. So I was up at 5 o'clock this morning?
Yes. And I woke up at
Because it's
like
Sunday. We record
6:55.
this on Sundays. You woke up at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's still
My body
relatively
clock is
early.
7.
I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yep.
Just don't get in the way of me doing it. But if you were getting up at 8:30, 9 o'clock, if you need to sleep until 10,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because I just
can't
lost
imagine.
5 hours of my day from you.
Yes.
And
yes.
vice versa. If you
Yeah.
wanted to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to happen. So I don't view that as, you saw that as a difference, yet it's still not incompatibility.
Right. It's not so grossly off course with each other.
Pick another topic, any other topic, see where we both land on it. Politics.
We both land on the same.
We are
same
both not,
side.
we may
Yeah.
come off as uber liberal, but we're not.
Correct.
We're
And
definitely not conservative, though. We're much more
definitely
in
not.
the middle.
I will say that at one point with the dating apps, you can choose those settings. And I was like, I'm open-minded to all people of all. And then, so I did not check a box on my political beliefs. And I was like, oh my gosh, check. I couldn't check it fast enough because
political beliefs, right?
the political beliefs were like, just so glaringly opposite of me. I was like, you know what? That is a good filter. I think that really is important. I could not, some people can make it work to have, I imagine people that are partners on opposite ends of the political spectrum have a great degree of respect for their partner's position and intelligence and intellect behind the topic, or they both just don't give a shit.
Well, okay, so
to make it work.
So stay there for a
Otherwise,
second.
I don't know how you make it work.
We keep cycling back to this, right? So you and I don't care too much about politics. Like you just said, some couples just don't give a shit. I know quite a few that don't follow it at all. I don't think Laura and Bill follow it, for example. I don't know if my kids do. Your daughter does. I think my daughter Key does as well. My point is, you and I follow it just enough. I probably track it a little bit more and see what's going on.
Yes.
However, we both feel very strongly about the topic with the same level of intensity, right? I'm really boring you right now, aren't I?
No, I'm
You're just
sorry.
very tired.
Yeah,
Huh?
it just gets to that. I mean, it is 5:30.
I was going to say it's 5:40 and you're yawning. That's fucking hilarious. But you would agree that while we think Trump is a complete douchebag,
yeah,
doesn't mean we don't
Idiot.
think that Republicans, the old Republicans, because there is no real Republican Party anymore, we don't disagree with some of the Republican tenets that used to be prominent when we were growing up. In fact, we both acknowledge we voted Republican in our lives, right?
Yeah.
So my point is, we're
Most
not
of my adult
uber
life.
liberal, we're not uber conservative. But it's important enough for us to have that compatibility, right?
It is.
Okay.
I glimpsed what it was like not having that compatibility. I was like, yeah, I can't.
Oh, you had that for a while. I forgot.
Right? What?
Didn't you have incompatibility with that? Wasn't there a hint of it?
There was the last relationship.
Yeah.
It came out very late and close to the end that there was a big chasm between the beliefs, and a lot of that was sparked by the political atmosphere of the moment, right? That
it was very polarizing for sure.
What's his name was so divisive and
Douchebag?
Orange Mr. Douchebag.
So,
but anyway.
Well, okay. So let me stay on that topic. Why we don't like Trump? Ready? I do not understand, as someone who's raised Christian and Catholic, how anyone with any kind of religious values at all, and I don't care how this gets perceived. You know how I feel about it.
I know.
He's a terrible human being. I don't care if you like his policies or he did do, in fact, if you listen to Sam Harris and others, he did do some good things with China, but so was Obama and so did Biden. And we don't have to debate that. His character is what bugged the crap out of me.
Yes.
That's what bothered me.
Yes.
And so
Agreed.
I can't separate then the politics from the character anymore. I thought Bill Clinton did a great job of balancing the budget. He was an ass.
Yeah.
Right?
He made some poor choices.
Really
and
bad choices. And so it was one of
that's
those,
not
oh, dude, you
who
could have
should be
walked
leading.
away as one of the smartest presidents ever, and you got to go finger bang an intern. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that's where I think that's where we align.
Yeah, it's behavior that's unacceptable no matter what the side of
policy.
Politics they are
That's
on, right? It's like that is not somebody that is of high moral character that should be leading our nation.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk then next topic.
Okay.
We're 40 in.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I think we're going to go down every single one. So the question I have is,
Do you have these all in your head?
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
ripping them off. I told you, I've been
Let her rip, babe.
thinking about this all day.
I love it.
You brought up something you said something about work, and we're a little bit different with work when we were upstairs in the kitchen.
Yes.
Prepping for this.
Yes.
So let's talk about our on how does work, our careers affect our relationship.
Well,
compatibility-wise.
Yes. So I have been self-employed almost my entire life. I've had a few jobs that were, going to the office every day, but they didn't last long. My nature, my background, my world has been mostly self-employed, where every day is a little bit different, and that is, I think, shaped me. And you have different.
I've
work
been self-employed too
self-employed, but working with the same company for stretches, almost,
15 years, but prior to that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
8 years prior to that, I did my own thing, worked at startups. I think, when we look at our friends, Pat and Sue
Yes.
and Amy,
Yes.
all people we like a lot.
Yep.
They're corporate people. They work at big companies.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's a big common bond for them.
it's a huge bond. And
Yeah.
I look
of
at what
understanding for your partner and what
Yeah.
they go through when they go to work.
that's right.
And,
And I look at
the
what
politics and the hierarchy of
Yeah.
and what's required of you in those job settings.
and do you feel this way? Because I think you do. I look at that and go,
Yes.
the last thing I want to do
Yes.
is ever work for a big company.
Yeah,
So,
I think you have a foot that's familiar with the corporate world, but you also are very familiar with being self-employed.
well, if I were to go into
So we're not
it-
complete opposites
No.
on that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Compatibility. I appreciate what you try to do as a realtor and what you do as a model. Right. And so I understand the dynamics of all that because I lean toward entrepreneurialism as well.
Yeah,
I lean toward independence
Yeah.
and carving my own path. Now, we both know this,
and being in control of your days.
well, and also not having health care. Right.
Ugh.
So, but I mean,
Less appealing.
okay. Let's talk about another topic. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the outdoors.
Okay.
Big macro topic.
Oh yes, that was a biggie for me. Whether I realized it or not, I will reflect back on one or two of your profile pictures were on a mountaintop, right? And one of my profile pictures was hiking, and I remember seeing that going, check. He's an active, outdoorsy person. That's important to me. It really is. Somebody that was maybe just interested in, I don't know what other job you can imagine or other interests you could imagine that had someone inside. I was like, get me in nature, get me seeing the world in that way too. And I saw that compatibility in you, in your profile pictures.
Well, okay. So now it's one thing to see it, and then we're at 41 minutes, so I want to kind of close this whole entire loop, and I hope you'll be able to appreciate it or ride along with it or whatever, because I know you're not exactly sure where I'm going with some of this tonight.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to look at me and say, okay, it looks like he's outdoor and he's hiking, or he's outdoors and hiking. It's another thing for us to both like hiking and really go, let's go. Like when we were in Switzerland, what did we do? We found a waterfall that, oh my God, we get to hike 3 miles to the top of it, right? And neither one of us felt, ugh, I don't want to do this. I look at my son, Sam. I think the last thing he'd ever want to do is go hiking,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't mean he's not physically fit or physically active or likes
he's
to exercise.
very disciplined athlete.
Right?
Yeah.
But hiking, Pat and Sue can't stand it. I would argue, does your sister-in-law like it?
Yeah. Carol doesn't like the endless, hike till you drop hike.
But you and I would.
Yes.
So see, it's not just
Yes.
that you saw me in that. It's that we went, when we're on vacation, we look at that as a form of bonding.
Yes.
We look at it as a form of exercise.
Right.
Right. We lament the fact that we don't have it nearby, where we can't just pick up and go to a place and hike. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Absolutely.
So where is that spiritual, physical? Is that emotional? It's all of those macro categories, right?
Yes.
To me, it's in those details where we're in so much alignment.
Yeah.
We're not the same person, right? When we were in Switzerland, you were more or less cautious than me. You're more adventurous than me for some things. I went, I'm not comfortable here, right? But we're still hiking. I just didn't want to go much more on the trail.
Yeah.
Right. So there's differences. I don't want anyone listening to think that we're Jerry Seinfeld and Jeannie Garofalo in that episode.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with all this?
Yes. Yes. So what if you would give your unprofessional advice to people that are looking to find a partner? What would you say?
You just read my mind. So I was just about to say, so the whole point of this is, because I asked you upstairs, was there ever a point where you would have walked from this relationship? Because I know I would have. And I might have been more scientific in our relationship starting out early. You probably had better instincts than me, and I was much more cautious. So I would watch and react and read and go, oh, she wants me to buy her a mountain bike. Does she really want, oh, wow, she's really good at mountain biking. okay, she really likes this. Follow what I'm getting at? So I think I was much more willing to analyze the things that were important. I would have definitely walked, and I'm not kidding, this sounds crazy. If we started to watch Arrested Development and you were like,
Yeah.
why? Because I think at the core, there's a sense of humor about a certain type of thing that I need to be with someone who finds that funny. And we talked about this, were you prepared to walk at any point? Were you?
Yes.
You
of
would have.
course. Yes, absolutely.
So the question
I had
then,
walked previously,
so the
with
question
other
is, when you
dates
said,
or relationships. Yeah.
when you essentially said, what's the moral of this story? Remember we were walking into Sendix tonight?
Yeah.
I said, the moral of the story is don't acquiesce yourself.
Yes. Yes.
I wanted a partner that wanted to be with me all the time. I wanted a partner that loved me playing the guitar. I wanted a partner that liked a whole bunch of music that was really important to me, and I wanted them to bring music to the table. All the things that we are, I wonder, did we just get lucky?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. Or were we willing to go, yep, this works. Oh, okay, cool. Just got a new learn from Kathy. Yep, this is cool. Oh, this is good. That doesn't mean we don't have our conflicts. We have our conflicts.
Absolutely. We've spoken about those too.
What do you think of what I just said? Is that your takeaway?
Absolutely. I think it begins with knowing yourself that well and being willing to make your interests, your desires, what you love a priority. I know that in the past I probably didn't have as much in common with the other person and wasn't willing to face that. And I think it starts with knowing yourself so well and just checking in and making sure you are not giving up those really important aspects of yourself and your interests to be with somebody else. And it doesn't mean you have to be in alignment on every single topic. But what would be nice is if the things you weren't in alignment on, that your partner engaged in those interests of yours, or maybe was like, oh, I've never done that before. I'm going to try hiking. Let's try
turning toward.
Turning towards
That's what the
them and
Gottmans say.
engaging.
That's what the Gottmans. Remember we talked about that before.
Because you inspire me, and I inspire you, that it's not just all of the things that Jack loves. And I was previously a hermit, right? It's really comes both ways. Like when you didn't really cross country ski and you were willing to try it with me a few times, right? So, and in fact, I'd love to get you cross country skis so we can do that more often.
I agree.
If we ever get good snow here.
I don't think it's ever going to happen again. All right, let's do our questions from what's it called again? The and thing?
Yeah, the skin deep.
The skin deep.
The skin deep.
I got a really deep, hard, scary one.
Okay.
I don't know if I like this one. Do you want to do this question at all? Can you read it right there?
What are you scared to tell me? Oh.
Are you scared to tell me anything? Ooh, this is exposure on the...
I did just tell you one thing, but it's very private and I won't share it.
Are you talking about the...
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's not...
Yeah, that was something that I was scared. I was like embarrassed. Something physical that's going on that comes with growing older. A lot of times comes with growing older, that I was like, oh, that's really private and it's really kind of like gross. But I shared it with you because I was like, nope, I'm not even having that secret from him. This man's going to know everything that's going on with me.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, that's happened to me, and that's what happens, and it's the body, and you made it safe. You didn't. I am far less self-conscious. I'm still a little self-conscious because I'm a little, in general, I'm probably a little more self-conscious than you are, personality-wise. But that was actually, maybe it seems kind of small to you, but it was kind of.
I thought it was, but I didn't realize how big it was.
Yeah,
now.
I think.
Sorry
Well, it's the
that.
first thing that comes to mind. It just happened.
Yeah,
Maybe I can't think of anything else right now. But how about you?
Medical issues, right? Health issues, same thing.
Yeah, and you
right?
just talked about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's weird fears, I guess. I don't know what else to say. Fears that you're hurting the other person, you don't want them to worry, or that kind of stuff. So I liked talking about this.
Yes.
I'm always fascinated by our compatibility.
Yep.
And I continue to be, and I don't want anyone listening to think that we have it figured out.
No,
we
and that
definitely
we are
have our
the,
moments where,
or that we are the only template to how to make it work. And who knows? I think we're going to work.
Well, I hope people
never
continue to
know.
listen. And again, your question was exactly why I wanted to have this.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a takeaway from anyone that's contemplating a relationship, please be yourself, and in every capacity, and do not settle. Because you fill a couple of buckets up that you think mean things, but you're leaving some other ones really empty. That will catch up with you.
Some really big ones. Yeah.
That will catch up with you. No doubt about it.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it.
Well, it's not it. You know what we have to
not?
do? No, you've got something to do here.
Oh, I have to say something.
Do you mind just closing
No,
us out?
close
I'm going
us
to try
out.
to find it, because that's what we do now. But if you don't mind,
Okay.
on the count of 3, 2, go for it.
You just listened to another episode of the Jack and Kathy Shit Show. Recording and engineering provided by the Jack and Kathy Shit Show. Connect with us on Instagram at Jack and Kathy, that's with a C, Kathy with a C, Shit Show, for more insight into our shit show of a life. This episode is proudly brought to you by Pint Productions.
Point!
Until next time,
Peace.
peace.